Be me. 23. My name is Alden. I am the guy you never look at. Freelance sound engineer for venues that smell like bleach and regret. I spend my life untangling cables and drinking lukewarm tap water out of plastic cups, trying to make out-of-tune guitars sound less like a dying lawnmower. My entire social life revolves around my best buddy. His name is Rowan. Rowan is essentially a golden retriever wearing a denim jacket. He is the drummer for a moderately successful local alt-punk band. They are called Shattered Glass. They actually draw a decent crowd, but it is not because of Rowan, and it is definitely not because of their bassist Cedric, who mostly stares at his own shoes. The reason people show up is Isla. Isla is 22. She is maybe 5'4" on paper, but she wears these massive steel-toed Demonia platform boots. She has a jet black wolf cut that always looks like she just woke up. She wears enough eyeliner to paint a small house. Her wardrobe consists entirely of leather jackets, whipped fishnets, and vintage band tees torn with absolute surgical precision. She is terrifying. She is also aggressively and loudly gay. She is the local man-hating lesbian icon. She literally calls out dudes from the stage for breathing too loud. She writes entire angry anthems about female rage. The local queer alt scene absolutely worships the ground she stomps on. Rowan is terrified of her. Cedric is terrified of her. I was terrified of her. She communicated with me almost exclusively through glares and making throat-slitting gestures from the stage, which meant the monitors were not loud enough. We had never spoken more than 10 words to each other until the incident. It was late July, sweltering, humid, miserable weather, the kind of heat that makes the pavement smell like wet pennies. We had a catastrophic gig in this unventilated industrial warehouse. The power kept surging. Cedric blew out his bass amp during the second song. Rowan managed to break 2 snares because he hits too hard when he panics. There was a crowd of maybe 12 people, and all of them were just standing in the dark scrolling on their phones. By the time the set was over, everyone was in a horrible mood. Cedric just straight up disappeared into the night. Rowan packed up his cymbals and left with some girl who had a septum piercing, which left me and Isla alone in a boiling hot warehouse, staring at a mountain of heavy road cases. She did not say a word to me. We spent an hour dragging heavy wooden boxes across cracked concrete, sweat stinging my eyes, my hands completely blistered. We finally get everything shoved into the back of my beat-up Ford van. I slam the rusty doors shut. I lean against the bumper trying to catch my breath. Isla leans against the van next to me. She pulls out a crumpled pack of clove cigarettes. She lights one. The smoke smells like burnt potpourri. She does not look at me. She just stares at the empty street and mutters, "My place is 5 blocks away. The garage is empty. I will buy you a drink if you don't abandon me like the rest of these losers." I am too tired to say no. I drive the van at 5 miles an hour down the dark street. She sits in the passenger seat with her boots on the dashboard. We pull up to her rental house. It is exactly what you would expect her to live in. Heavy velvet curtains blocking all the windows. Weird skull decor everywhere. Stacks of vinyl records leaning against the walls. The whole place smells like incense and stale coffee. She walks into the kitchen without taking her boots off. She grabs a half-empty bottle of cheap dark bourbon from above the fridge. She does not grab any glasses. She walks back into the living room and sits on a heavily scratched leather couch. She takes a drink straight from the bottle. She wipes her mouth with the back of her hand. She looks at the floor. "The scene is dead," she says quietly. "Everyone is just pretending," she says. "They all wear the same clothes and say the same things," she says. "I am so tired of pretending," she says. She hands me the bottle. I take a drink. It burns my throat. Then she just drops the bomb. Casually, like she is commenting on the weather. "I am bi," she says. "I am not strictly a lesbian," she says. "But if I ever actually admit that out loud," she says. "Every single dude in this city thinks he is special," she says. "They think they can fix me or whatever," she says. "Being completely untouchable is the only thing that keeps me safe," she says. I am sitting there holding a bottle of cheap liquor. My brain is scrambling to find a response. I say the only intelligent thing I can manage in that moment. "I won't tell anyone," I say. She looks up at me. She really studies my face for a long time. "You never stare at me," she says. "You just fix the cables and do your job," she says. She leans in closer. The smell of clove cigarettes and cheap bourbon. I am a 23-year-old guy. I have the impulse control of a shopping cart skidding on black ice. Mistake happens. We do not talk about it while it happens. The morning comes. The harsh sunlight is leaking through the velvet curtains. I wake up on the couch. She is already dressed, armor fully back on, boots laced up tight, eyeliner sharp enough to kill a man. Last night did not happen, she says flatly. If it ever comes up, I will deny it, she says. Understood, she says. I nod my head. Understood, I say. I grab my jacket and walk out into the humidity. 2 entire months pass. We go back to normal, completely professional. She glares at me from the stage. I adjust the sliders on the mixing board. She makes the throat-slitting gesture. I turn the monitors up. It is fine. Everything is completely fine. Then September hits. We are at a dingy club downtown. The floor is sticky with spilled beer. I am packing up the mic stands in the back alley. The door flies open. Isila grabs me by the back of my shirt. She drags me behind the dumpsters. She is pale. She is literally shaking. Her hands are trembling so hard she can barely hold her leather jacket closed. I am pregnant, she says. No greeting, no lead up. Just that. I drop the mic stand. It clatters on the concrete. What? I say. You heard me, she says. Her voice is shaking, but her jaw is set. I am keeping it, she says immediately. I have always wanted a kid, she says. I am not arguing about this, she says. I am standing in a dark alley smelling hot garbage. My entire life is flashing before my eyes. I take a deep breath. Okay, I say. Okay, I will support you, I say. Whatever you need, I say. She shakes her head frantically. No, she says. We cannot tell the scene, she says. If they find out I slept with a guy, she says. If they find out I slept with the sound guy, she says. I am a joke, she says. My entire platform is gone, she says. She is pacing now, her boots crunching on broken glass. You know how queer families work, she says, her eyes darting around like she is looking for the words in the air. It is super common, she says. Known donor, she says. Close friend steps up to be the donor, she says. Co-parenting arrangement, she says. It is totally normal in the community, she says. She stops pacing. She looks dead at me. You, she says. I blink. Me what? I say. You are the known donor, she says. I stare at her. Isila. I am a straight man who drives a rusted van, I say. How is anyone going to buy that, I ask. She steps closer. She points a finger at my chest. If this turns into gossip, I lose my entire safety net, she says. I lose the band, she says. I lose my income, she says. I don't need a stupid romance, she says. I need stability, she says. I need you to be the gay friend who donated, she says. That is the trap. Right there. I look at her scared eyes under all that heavy makeup. I actually want the kid. I do not want her to do this alone. I sigh. It is a long, heavy sigh. Fine, I say. I am your flamboyant, gay donor, I say. 3 days later, emergency band meeting. We are at a local independent coffee shop. The kind that charges $7 for a latte. I spent an hour staring at my closet that morning. I eventually put on a pastel yellow sweater. I roll the sleeves up. I cuff my jeans way too high. I wear clean white sneakers. I feel like I am wearing a costume. I walk into the coffee shop. Rowan and Cedric are sitting at a wobbly wooden table. Isila is sitting next to them. She looks at my pastel sweater and almost smiles, but catches herself. I sit down. I order an iced oat milk matcha something. Isila clears her throat. She looks at the guys. I have an announcement, she says. I am pregnant, she says. Cedric drops his phone on the table. Rowan just stares at her with his mouth hanging open. What? Rowan says. How? Rowan says. Who? Rowan says. Isila gestures toward me with a very dramatic hand wave. Alden is the donor, she says proudly. We have decided to enter a modern co-parenting journey together, she says. Rowan slowly turns his head to look at me. His eyes are so wide they look like they are going to fall out of his head. Alden? Rowan says. You are the donor, Rowan says. I take a sip of the matcha. It tastes like wet grass. Yes, I say. Rowan leans forward. But, he says. You are gay, he asks. His voice cracks. I look him right in the eye. I contain multitudes, Rowan. I lie. Cedric just nods slowly, like this makes perfect sense to him. Respect, Cedric mumbles. Word gets out exactly how Isela planned. The scene absolutely eats it up. It is the perfect narrative. The independent queer icon creating a modern family with her loyal gay best friend. Posts go up on Instagram. People are leaving hundreds of comments with heart emojis. Praise pours in from every local zine. Her streaming numbers actually spike. People start buying more merch to support the baby fund. She plays a show and announces it from the stage. The crowd loses their minds. They cheer for 5 straight minutes. I am at the soundboard wearing a pink button-down shirt. People keep patting me on the shoulder, telling me how brave and beautiful our journey is. I just smile and nod and pretend I know what they are talking about, but privately, behind closed doors. The leather armor comes off. The stage persona completely disappears. By month 4, everything changes. I am spending almost every night at her place. She stops wearing the boots. She lives exclusively in my oversized gray hoodies and baggy sweatpants. She sits on the floor of her living room eating mashed potatoes out of a Tupperware container. She puts hot sauce on everything. She cries because a commercial for car insurance had a cute dog in it. "Why is the dog so small?" she sobs, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of my hoodie. "It is a puppy, Isela," I say. I take the Tupperware away from her so she doesn't drop it. I start doing things around the house. Her apartment is a disaster. The sink leaks. I go to the hardware store and buy a wrench and pipe tape. I spend a Tuesday night under her sink getting dripped on. She sits on the kitchen counter, kicking her bare feet against the cabinets, asking me questions about my childhood. "Did you have a treehouse?" she asks. "No, I lived in an apartment," I say from under the sink. "We will build a treehouse," she decides. "We don't have a yard," I remind her. "We will get a yard," she says stubbornly. The reality of the situation starts hitting me in waves. I am reading instruction manuals for baby furniture. I buy a crib online. It comes in a massive, heavy cardboard box. I spend 4 hours assembling it in the corner of her bedroom. There are dozens of tiny wooden dowels. I strip a screw and curse loudly. She comes in holding a mug of decaf tea. She watches me sweat over the Allen wrench. She reaches out and wipes dust off my forehead. She leaves her hand there for a second. We both freeze. She pulls her hand back fast. "Looks sturdy," she says nervously. She walks out of the room. I start doing the grocery shopping. I know she can't stand the smell of raw meat right now, so I go alone. I learn to read the labels on everything. I know her exact prenatal vitamin schedule. I know she needs the gummy ones because the pills make her nauseous. I buy 3 different types of ginger ale to see which one she likes best. The apartment starts filling up with my stuff. My jacket on the chair, my keys on the counter, my boots next to her platforms. We start sleeping in the same bed. It starts with a bad thunderstorm. Her house is drafty. She texts me from the bedroom at 2 a.m. "I am cold," she texts. I walk in from the couch dragging my blanket. I lie down on the absolute edge of the mattress. By morning, she is entirely plastered against my side, her head on my chest, drooling slightly on my shirt. We never talk about it, but the next night I just go straight to the bedroom. We tell ourselves it is for comfort. We stop pretending entirely when it is just the 2 of us. But the outside world is a different story. Enter cousin Renata. Renata is Isela's older cousin who moved back from Portland. Renata has a degree in something vague. Renata wears a lot of linen and oversized wooden jewelry. Renata thinks she is the ultimate authority on modern family dynamics. Renata insists on a meeting. She corners us at a vegan bakery. Renata sits across from us looking very serious. She steeples her fingers. "Isela," Renata says. "I just want to make sure you are protecting your peace," Renata says. "This is a very vulnerable season for you," Renata says. Renata turns to me, her eyes narrow, and Alden, Renata says. "We need to talk about emotional labor," Renata says. I am holding a paper cup of terrible coffee. "Okay," I say. Renata pulls out a thick folder of printed papers. "I have drafted a boundaries agreement," Renata says. "It is crucial that we define the parameters of your involvement," Renata says. "We cannot have you overstepping your role as the donor," Renata says. "You need to validate her maternal space," Renata says, "without asserting patriarchal ownership over the child," Renata says. Isela looks at the table. She looks embarrassed, but she doesn't stop Renata. Renata pushes a pen across the table. "I need you to sign this, acknowledging that you are a secondary emotional support figure," Renata says. I look at the paper. It is full of words like validating and holding space. I look at Isela. Isela is wearing my socks. I know this because they have a hole in the left heel. I washed those socks yesterday with her laundry. I folded her shirts. I built the crib where this baby is going to sleep. I look back at Renata. "I will look it over," I say. I fold the paper and put it in my jacket pocket. Renata huffs. "Don't be toxic about this, Alden," Renata says. "We just need accountability," Renata says. I pay for the muffins and we leave. The paperwork does not stop with Renata. The logistics of this lie become a nightmare. We have to go to a notary to sign actual legal donor forms. Isila found them online. We walk into this tiny strip mall insurance office. The notary is a woman named Pamela. Pamela has glasses on a chain around her neck. We sit at her desk. Pamela reads the forms. She looks at Isela. She looks at me. I am wearing a floral print shirt that I hate. I am trying to sit in a way that looks appropriately flamboyant. Pamela squints at the paper. So, Pamela says, you are the sperm donor, Pamela says. Yes, I say. My voice goes up half an octave, without me meaning it to. Pamela looks at my address on my ID. She looks at Isila's address. But you two live together, Pamela says. Temporarily, Isila says way too fast. For support, Isila says. Pamela stamps the paper. The sound is extremely loud in the quiet room. Honey, Pamela says to Isila. I don't care what you two call yourselves, Pamela says. But this boy just paid for your parking meter, Pamela says. And he is carrying your purse, Pamela says. I realize I am sitting there with Isela's heavy-studded leather bag on my lap. My face gets hot. We rush out of the office. The real-world consequences start piling up. Week 20. It rains for 3 days straight. Isila wakes me up at 4 in the morning. She is standing by the window holding a flashlight. Look, she says. I get out of bed. There is a massive brown water stain spreading across the ceiling. By noon, it smells like wet dog. By evening, we find the black mold behind the velvet curtains. We call the landlord. The landlord is a guy named Russell who definitely evades taxes. Russell comes over. He takes one look at the mold. He looks at Isila's stomach. Yeah, I am not fixing this while you are pregnant, Russell says. Liability, he says. You gotta move out, he says. Just like that. We have 30 days to find a new place. Isela completely shuts down. She sits on the couch pulling at her hair, crying silently. I am ruined, she whispers. I don't have enough saved for a new deposit, she says. The band account is empty, she says. I sit next to her. I put my arm around her. She leans heavily into my side. I will handle it, I say. I spend the next 3 days calling every leasing office in the city. Nobody wants to rent to an unemployed musician and a freelance sound guy. Finally, I find a decent 2-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor of a duplex. It has big windows. It has a little balcony. The property manager wants proof of income. My freelance tax returns look like a joke. I have to call my parents. I have not talked to my parents about any of this. I stand in the parking lot of the grocery store. Holding a bag of oranges, Isila demanded. I dial my dad. Hey Dad, I say. Alden, he says. You need money, he says. No, I say. I need you to co-sign a lease, I say. He pauses. Are you moving, he asks. Yes, I say. With a friend, I say. Who, he asks. Isela, I say. Who is Isela, he asks. She is the singer in Rowan's band, I say. Are you two dating, he asks. No, I say. She is gay, I say. And pregnant, I add. There is a very long silence on the phone. Alden, my dad says slowly. Are you in some kind of trouble, he asks. No, Dad. I am just helping her out, I say. He sighs. He co-signs the lease. I drain my tiny savings account to pay the deposit. Moving day is a logistical nightmare. Rowan and Cedric show up to help. They think they are helping their singer move in with her gay donor best friend. I have to pretend that all the heavy lifting is ruining my delicate back. I am literally carrying a mattress down a flight of stairs. Rowan is holding the other end. Careful, Alden, Rowan says. Don't mess up your hands, he says. He says it completely sincerely. He is wearing a backwards hat and sweating. We get everything into the new apartment. There are cardboard boxes stacked to the ceiling. Isila is sitting on a milk crate in the middle of the empty living room. She looks exhausted. Her stomach is definitely showing now. The vintage band tees do not fit anymore. She is wearing one of my old flannel shirts. Rowan looks at her, then he looks at me. He watches me hand her a bottle of water. He watches me naturally unscrew the cap for her before I hand it over. Rowan frowns slightly. He doesn't say anything, but I see his brain working. 2 weeks later, family dinner. The new apartment is mostly unpacked. Isila's parents are driving through town. They want to see the new place. They want to meet the donor. Isila is having a full-blown panic attack in the bathroom. She is sitting on the edge of the tub holding a towel. My dad is going to hate you, she says. Why? I ask. I am leaning against the doorframe. I am wearing an apron because I am cooking a casserole. I don't even know how to make a casserole. I googled it. Because you are not a doctor or a lawyer, she says. He thinks the donor should have been an anonymous genius, she says. Not a guy who owns 3 different types of duct tape, she says. I own 4 types. I correct her. She glares at me, but she smiles a little bit. The doorbell rings. Her parents are exactly as intimidating as she is, but in a country club way. Her dad wears a polo shirt tucked into khaki pants. Her mom has hair that does not move. They sit at our cheap dining table. I serve the casserole. It is slightly burnt on the edges. Her dad looks at me across the table. So Olden, he says. Isela tells us you are in the music industry, he says. He says music industry is the way you would say waste management. I do sound engineering, I say. I am trying to sit up straight. I am trying to look like the safe gay friend. Fascinating, her mom says dryly. And you and Isela have discussed the legal boundaries, her mom says. We don't want any confusion down the line, her mom says. Isela stiffens next to me. She drops her fork. It clatters loudly on the plate. Mom, stop, Isela says. We have an agreement, Isela says. Alden is just helping, Isela says. I look at Isela. I look at the little half-moon scar on her chin. I look at the way she is nervously twisting her rings. I look back at her dad. I am committed to supporting Isela and the baby, I say. My voice is steady. I drop the flamboyant act completely for a second. I look him dead in the eye. I am not going anywhere, I say. The room gets very quiet. Her dad stares at me. He slowly takes a bite of the burnt casserole. Well, he says. Good, he says. After they leave, Isela is exhausted. She falls asleep on the couch, still wearing her jeans. I carefully pull her boots off. I put a blanket over her. I clean up the kitchen. I find a crumpled up receipt on the counter. It is for baby socks, 3 pairs of tiny yellow socks. I fold the receipt and put it in my wallet. I don't know why. The next morning is the ultrasound appointment, month 6. We drive to the clinic in my rusty van. The wipers are squeaking. We sit in the waiting room. She is nervously bouncing her knee. She reaches out and grabs my hand. Her fingers are freezing cold. She squeezes tight. She does not let go until the nurse calls her name. We go into the little dark room. The ultrasound tech is a lady with a kind face. She squirts the cold blue gel on Isela's stomach. Isela flinches. I am standing next to the bed. I am holding my breath. The tech moves the wand around. The screen is just static gray clouds for a minute. And then, there it is. The shape of a head. A little spine. The tech presses a button. The sound fills the tiny room. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. It is the heartbeat. It is so fast. It sounds like a train rushing through a tunnel. I feel the air completely leave my lungs. I stare at the monitor. My eyes start burning. I blink hard. Isela is staring at the screen. Tears are running down the sides of her face into her hair. She reaches out blindly. I grab her hand again. We are just holding on to each other for dear life. The tech smiles at us. She types something on the keyboard. You are such a sweet couple, the tech says softly. Is this your first? The tech asks. I squeeze Isela's hand. I look at her. She looks at me. All the armor is gone. The leather, the eyeliner, the angry stage persona. It is all stripped away. She is just a scared girl having a baby, and I am just a guy standing next to her. Yes, I say. My voice is thick. Our first, I say. Isela does not correct her. Isela does not say a word about being a single queer icon. Isela does not mention a donor. She just looks back at the screen and smiles. We leave the clinic. We walk out into the parking lot. The sun is too bright. We get into the van. She immediately puts her sunglasses on. The armor goes back up, but it is slipping. It is cracking at the seams. It is getting harder and harder to maintain the lie. We go to the diner after the band's next show. We are sitting in a vinyl booth. The table is sticky. Rowan and Cedric are sitting across from us. Isela ordered a plate of pancakes. I ordered a burger. My food arrives. Without even asking, she reaches across the table. She grabs a handful of my French fries. She dips them in her syrup. She eats them. She leans her head over and rests it heavily on my shoulder. She closes her eyes. Rowan stops chewing. He is holding a coffee mug halfway to his mouth. He watches her head resting on my shoulder. He watches me automatically hand her a napkin because she got syrup on her chin. He looks at Cedric. Cedric is completely oblivious, looking at his phone. We finish eating. We all walk out to the parking lot. The streetlights are buzzing loudly. The asphalt is wet from rain. Isela is tired. Her balance is off because of the extra weight. She steps off the curb, and her ankle rolls. She stumbles forward. I drop my keys. I catch her by the waist before she hits the ground. I pull her back up against me. I am holding her tight. You okay? I ask. My heart is hammering in my chest. She catches her breath. She leans against my chest. Yeah, she breathes out. Thanks, babe, she says. The words hang in the air. They echo in the empty parking lot. Thanks, babe. Utter silence. Even the streetlights seem to stop buzzing. Rowan is standing 10 feet away. He has his car keys in his hand. He freezes. He slowly turns around. He looks at Isla. He looks at my hand still holding her waist. Did you just call him babe? Rowan asks. His voice is low. He is not smiling. Isla's eyes snap open. She realizes what she said. Pure panic washes over her face. She pushes away from me slightly. Queer slang, she blurts out loudly. It is queer slang, Rowan, she says. Everyone says it, she says. It means nothing, she says. She practically runs to my van. She yanks the passenger door open. She gets in and slams it shut. I am standing on the curb. I look at Rowan. Rowan looks at me. He doesn't say a word. He just shakes his head. He gets in his car and drives off. Now I am here. It is 2 a.m. We are back at our apartment. We are sitting on the couch. The only light is from the street lamp outside the window. Isla is asleep. Her head is in my lap. Her breathing is soft and even. She is wearing my favorite faded gray hoodie. There is a half-empty mug of decaf tea on the coffee table next to a stack of baby name books. There are 3 different colors of her hair clips scattered on the rug. My phone buzzes on the cushion next to me. The screen lights up the dark room. It is a text from Rowan. I pick it up carefully so I don't wake her. The text says, Bro, I am not stupid. Cedric is stupid. I am not. We need to talk tomorrow. Just you and me. I stare at the glowing screen. My stomach feels like it is made of lead. I look down at Isla. She shifts in her sleep. She throws an arm over my leg and pulls herself closer. The baby is due in 3 months. Her stomach is way too big to hide under vintage tees anymore. She has a doctor appointment next week to discuss birth plans. Cousin Renata left a voicemail at midnight demanding we fill out a hospital boundary checklist. The rent is due on Tuesday. The crib in the other room still needs a mattress. The lie is completely cracking. The walls are coming down. I am either about to become a father publicly and ruin her entire fake reputation, or I am going to have to disappear into another time zone to keep her secret safe. Possibly both. I put the phone face down on the table. I rest my hand gently on her side. I can feel the baby moving right under my palm. I reach over and grab her heavy leather jacket from the back of the chair. I fold it over my arm. I pick up my van keys. The metal jingles softly in the quiet room. I don't know where I am driving tomorrow, but I know I can't stay still anymore.